Ladies and gentlemen, is Charlie West destined to be in that opening round side for 2026? It's time to talk all things black and white. Mr. Charlie West, he is the guy that everyone wants to be, the guy for the Pies, for the future in that forward half, and be that polarizing figure that we haven't really had since, you could say, baby Darcy Moore when he was playing at that key forward role before switching to that key defender position, and then, of course, Travis Cloke. So, look, with this situation with Charlie West and how he goes about the preseason and maybe what the word is or the conversation dialogue is between the Pies and Charlie West, I think Collingwood should be incredibly meticulous when it comes to how we manage Charlie West through this. One, being the fact that, as I just mentioned, we haven't had a polarizing key forward figure since Darcy Moore / Travis Cloke. So there's going to be a lot of natural hype that surrounds that. So making sure that Charlie West can navigate around those pressures and expectations is going to be crucial in this time of his young career. We've had one draftee who was unbelievably overhyped a couple of preseasons ago in Finlay Macrae, and his form warranted that, but for whatever reason, and we can dive into that in another video, it didn't quite work out. But he was definitely, we overhyped him, and there are multiple variables at play, but you'd hate to see a situation where the fans overhype Charlie West in the preseason and then nothing really comes out of it. I feel like Ed Allen, while he hasn't been a failure like Finlay Macrae, if we want to put it bluntly, he's still got some work to do. But again, you all remember at that last game against Melbourne where Ed Allen had this crazy game, and then going into 2025, there was that hype. And I'm not saying he hasn't lived up to it. It's just there's still a bit to go there, right? What else would Collingwood be asking going into the preseason for Charlie West? I've put down, obviously, put your best foot forward in the preseason. McStay is coming off a shoulder surgery, which will set him back. Myercheck, who was once the kingpin for the longest time in our forward line, is no longer at the Pies. Jack Buller has just come into a new environment. So there's reason to believe that Jack Buller isn't a shoo-in for the best 23. I think there's an element of trust that needs to be developed, understanding of the game plan, and just earning your stripes at the club. You don't just walk into a club. You look at Membry last year, who worked really hard in the preseason and I think he had a good game against Richmond, which pretty much solidified his starting position. But that's what it's going to take for a Jack Buller. And then you look at the reality that it may just take time for Jack Buller to acclimatise. You look at Shooter and Dan Houston, their first seasons weren't great. Yes, you can make different arguments for Tim Membry and Harry Perryman, but there is that contrast. There could be the direction where things go well, where things don't. So with all that factored in, Charlie West must be licking his chops and going, hey, I'm a chance here. I've kicked 24 goals in 10 games in the VFL, over 60% goal kicking accuracy. He averaged 10 touches a game, so even if he isn't kicking the ball through the two big sticks, he's finding the footy, which is important as a key forward to try and stay involved aerially on the ground, wherever it may be. He has the clutch gene. He kicked 6 goals against Sandy and then kicked the winning goal after the siren, which led him into playing his first AFL game against West Coast. But unfortunately, he had that foot injury, which probably held him back from having a few more games in 2025, especially with McStay carrying that shoulder, which is what we found out in retrospect. So this guy walks into this season with only one game next to his name, but could have very well had a couple more. I think he needs to believe, and the club want him to believe, that he should be a shoo-in for opening round. And there's absolutely no reason why Charlie West can't be a Logan Morris, Cal Shadir 2.0. I've been saying that all year. These guys, Logan Morris, Cal Shadir, reasonably late picks. Like if we look at where they went in the draft, and let's see. So Logan Morris draft. So he goes to pick 31. Okay. And some suggest he slid. But the fact of the matter is, he's come in and had an impact beyond what we'd expected. And if you do a redraft now of where Logan Morris could have been in that draft in 2023, most of you would be saying he's top 5, maybe top 3. I'm not too sure what the 2023 draft looked like. But Cal Shadir is probably a better example and a fairer example because of what Logan Morris has been able to achieve. He's been sort of it's been a unicorn performance over the last 2 seasons. He's back-to-back premiership player and is playing like a true mature key forward. But Cal Shadir draft was reasonably late. 56th pick in the 2023 AFL draft as a father-son selection. So there may be an argument that he could have been picked up a little bit earlier in the 40s perhaps, but given the father-son selection. He got 25 goals in 17 games in his first season. Of course, Westy would be doing this a little bit later than Cal Shadir, but you get the point. Like, if he falls somewhere in between the realms of a Cal Shadir and Logan Morris, that helps our forward line structure going forward a long way. It takes pressure off Jack Buller. It gives opposition more people to worry about than just a Bobby Hill, Jamie Elliott type. I think it just adds more headaches to, Oppo analysis essentially. So to summarize what we've spoken about, every reason for Charlie West to believe that he should be starting an opening round. This is just watching him in the VFL, watching him in the preseason last year. There was just something different about him, an aura, if you want to call it that. So for those reasons, and that have been mentioned in the video, I think we should all be hopeful and try not, at the same time, as difficult as it is, just try not get too overexcited with the idea that Charlie West could be this guy for us who we haven't had in such a long time. But also be somewhat willing to accept that if he plays 10 games in AFL and 10 games in the VFL, then that's also a win. But I think the bare minimum should be Charlie West needs to be playing 10 games at AFL level. Anything beneath that probably indicates that he's not as close to where we want him to be than we had first thought. So that would require some a reassessment of where we think who we think he is. But if we all think he is, wait, what's the saying? If we all, I've absolutely cooked this. But what I'm trying to say, without saying or for lack of a better term, if he's the guy that we think he is, then this season will be a 15-plus game, 20-plus goals season. And if not, then we need to reassess and just sort of bring back our expectations a little bit. I hope that makes a bit more sense. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you all. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, go Pies.